What's up, Leslie Chambers?
What's going on?
Hey,
What's
what's
going
up,
on?
everybody? Oh, we got 11 people watching already. That's awesome.
Yeah, not bad.
Welcome, shellheads. Welcome.
Oh my God.
Man, Leslie and I almost were late here because we were just chatting backstage, and I look up and I'm like, "Oh, it's showtime. We gotta get going."
Yeah, yeah.
So, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for waiting for us, and welcome to Gamera filled chat. We're celebrating the 60th anniversary of Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, friend to all children,
hmm
turtle with an attitude. I don't know. What Leslie, you have a bunch of questions,
Yeah.
but let me just do my regular thing and say, like, what's your connection to Gamera? Like, when did you really like become a fan of this guy? Because I know you got questions like that for me too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's no secret, ladies and gentlemen, that out of everybody on Collect All Monsters, me and Kyle are pretty much the biggest Gamera fans. Like, I know Gamera is a favorite of David's. I know he loves the Heisei versions, and I don't know if he cares for the late Showa Gamera, and Christine just got into Gamera like 2 weeks ago, so her her opinion is kind of jaded when it comes to this. So if you're expecting her to be here, I'm sorry for everybody in the chat, but I think you're used to that, honestly. But anyways, but yeah, Gamera, I love that dude. Like, and it's funny because in the 60 years this thing has been around, this franchise has been around. Like I said in our collect all monsters collectors group today when I did the plug for the show. Like, when you sit down and think about it, 60 years, of at first he was an entity that was considered a Godzilla ripoff or a knockoff, which is a fair assessment, because
It
Godzilla,
really is. It
it,
really is a fair assessment. I mean, at the
yeah,
time, every studio was trying to come up with their own giant monster formula because all of a sudden giant monsters are back in the spotlight again, and they actually, honestly, they were sort of like right at the perfect time. Like, so November 1965 was, just a couple of months before Ultra Q started and
hmm
Subaraya Productions really kickstarted the next boom of kaiju movies. So like
hmm
Gamera sort of got in right before. So Daiei could have been like, no, 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 we're already cool with giant monsters. See, we got Gamera for 2 years.
exactly, yeah. Um, but out of all the would-be imitators, if you will, even though I think Gamera has come into his own as a kaiju alternative, there's no longer a ripoff. But he still managed to hang in there for 60 years. Yongari couldn't say that. I mean, he had one movie, but that movie is not too popular. Gappa couldn't say that. They tried their hand with Gappa, and even Gorgo. Like, Gorgo, like, as popular as Gorgo was in his first film, his only film, really, Gamera has really hung in there, and he's been the devil's envoy. He's been the invincible one. He's been the friend of all children. He's been the guardian of the universe, and everything in between. And I know sometimes around this time of year, especially in November, we tend to uplift Godzilla Day, and rightfully so, because we're Godzilla fans. But we also often overlook the fact that Gamera also celebrates an anniversary, and within the same month. As a matter of fact, Gamera officially turned 60 this past Thursday on Thanksgiving, November 27th, who turned 60. And also shout out to our very own David He turned 60 the very next day on the 28th. So huge shout out to him. But for me, I felt it was necessary to honor Gamera in some way, shape, or form. Because we haven't really talked about Gamera like in long form on Collect All Monsters. Now, we mention him here and there, but we never really done like a full discussion dedicated to him. So it was high time, especially now due to his anniversary, that we give the Super Turtle his flowers.
Absolutely.
Because again, we all love Godzilla, but also at the same time, it's also great to have those kaiju alternatives like Damagen, like Gappa, like Gorgo, and of course, Gamera. So thank you for everybody for being here. We do appreciate it. You want to go into the chat now before we go into the questions?
Absolutely. Let's shout out to all the 22 people now. If
Okay.
you're watching and you haven't like popped something into the chat, just go ahead and say hi, what's up, because we're gonna shout you out right now because we appreciate you
Absolutely.
being here.
Okay. And the first one that I saw was in here was Johnny K. What's up, Johnny? Michael 84, Godzilla. What's going on? Of course, Helmy always represents. We do appreciate it. Even I know he wishes he was back in Japan right now for the umpteenth time. Let's see, Nathaniel Plummer, another great supporter of our show. Machine Dragon's Lair, thank you so much. Fancies of Cats.
What's
Um,
up?
Mark Zilla, Majin's Beard, D6317. Julia, let's see, what's that? Julia Compass 9200. I'm sorry if I
I think
killed
that's
that.
Julio.
Okay. Oh,
Julio,
Julio.
welcome.
Okay. I'm sorry for killing that. Kaiju Crusader, I know that's judging by that thumbnail. That's yeah, that's Robert. Yeah.
Robert Dwyer is named Kaiju Crusader. I
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
it, Robert.
Yeah, I can tell because he has that jacket on. He's like in front of a body of water, probably Tokyo Bay, knowing him. But Scott Hall, thank you so much for being here. Again, who else? Ray2D2, Ray2D2. So yeah, we got Chris Eaton. Chris Eaton's in the chat. Kaiju Battle. Wow, 24 people.
There's
Um,
Chris.
yeah.
D Baker.
D Baker
Oh yeah,
7817. The
Kaiju King
Kaiju King, the
podcast.
podcast. What's going on? What's going on? It's nice to see that
Greg
everybody.
Coggin.
Greg Coggin, yeah, Greg Coggin. It's nice to see that we ain't the only ones that love Gamera and want to give him his proper flowers on this day. You know, I know we're a couple days late, but better late than never. All right, so but you asked me, you know what? That kind of goes into my first question, and you kind of ask it for me. But then I'll answer it. Then you turn around and answer it yourself. You basically asked me what was the first Gamera film that really made you a fan, and that was my first question. And ironically enough, and I know this may be shocking to a lot of people, but I know people like, really, that movie made you a fan? But really, my first ever Gamera movie that made me a fan was Gamera Super Monster. Where's the sound effect for that?
That's in here somewhere. Hang on. Wait. We don't have Jonathan here to help me out today, so I know I've got a whole bunch of stuff to do here. So you got to give me that again.
Okay, my first ever Gamera movie that made me a fan was Gamera Super Monster.
I gotta choose here.
Oh, there you go. Oh, Frank's in the chat too. What's up, Frank? What's going on, man? But yeah, seriously, like I remember because it was actually a really kaiju filled night for me when I first watched that film, and I was back in high school, back in 1995. Yes, I'm that old. Before I graduated from high school, and one night they actually played War of the Gargantuas on TNT. My first time ever seeing that movie. And directly afterwards, they played Gamera Super Monster. Now, I was aware of Gamera from books I used to read back in the day of other kaiju alternatives, but I really didn't know what it was, but I heard about it. And so when I found out that it was coming on after War of the Gargantuas that night, I watched it, and you know what? I enjoyed it. And even though back then I kind of knew, like, wait a minute, this must be a Godzilla's Revenge situation because the footage looks kind of grainy. Gamera looks kind of different in every single fight scene. You know, it seemed like the movie was stitched together with duct tape. So I kind of knew then it was kind of like that. It was like a stock footage fest. But through it all, that was a movie that made me a fan. And again, it's kind of ironic because my first ever Godzilla movie that made me a fan was Megalon. And I know that movie has some poor production quality. It looks like it was stitched together with duct tape, you know? But even though those movies are really flawed, I can't really bash them because they were my gateway to not only Godzilla and Gamera. But I understand a lot of people will look at Gamera Super Monster as the worst Gamera film, and you're not wrong. But for me, it was the movie that made me a fan through it all. How about you? What was your first Gamera movie that made you a fan?
How about before I get into that, why don't I comment on Gamera Super Monster here? And also, I'm just curious because I feel like Gamera Super Monster is almost one of the, even though these movies were all put out on Blu-ray with the Gamera box set from Arrow Video, which you should check out if you don't already have it. it's in there, but I feel like this was sort of like a harder to find movie for a long time. I don't know how they got the chance to broadcast it on on TV, but I want to know just from people in the chat, who all has seen Gamera Super Monster? And my God, if it was your first experience, like loving Gamera, like let us know as well. But Gamera Super Monster, so yes, absolutely, it is very similar to Godzilla's Revenge, or All Monsters Attack, because it's cut together with all these shots, and it's basically, at the time, this is Dai saying, how can we try and save our studio? I don't know if anybody heard my commentary about it, but basically Dai was horribly managed by the money wise, and in the 70s, and was in the hole big time. And so they did what other studios were trying to do to save money, which is like, how can we put a film together with what we already have, and then also shoot a little bit of extra stuff, because it's a trip, man. Like,
Hmm.
where was that comment up here? Nathaniel Plummer saying that the super ladies and super monster are hot as Gamera's flame breath. Johnny says that after watching that movie, you probably bought a synthesizer. I think that happened, right? Is that canon? That
You know,
Leslie's a synthesizer player?
you know what? I think he means the fact that they used that keyboard for everything in that movie. They used the keyboard to operate their spaceship. They used the keyboard to play
Yeah.
the Gamera song. So I think that's what he meant.
Stock footage festival. Kaiju Crusader Robert didn't see Super Monster until much later. Same man. Uh, I actually really like it for what it is. In a different way than how I like All Monsters Attack. I feel like All Monsters Attack is actually a pretty clever story, and I feel like Gamera Super Monster is really kind of stretching the limits of what you can do. Like, really, I mean, I think it shows Dai's desperation at the time.
Hmm.
Frank says he saw it a few years ago, Japanese TV. That is awesome.
Hmm.
All right. So, yeah, Gamera Super Monster. So the question to me was, what was the first movie that made me a fan?
Hmm.
Actually, the first movie that made me a fan of Gamera is actually Gamera Guardian of the Universe.
Hmm.
And yeah,
I can see that.
so basically, if I could set the stage, young Kyle had just moved to Portland, Oregon in 1996. He had started picking up not G Fest, G Fan magazine.
Hmm.
And honestly, like, G Fan was oh man, do I have that? G Fan was really great for me at the time, because it wasn't before the internet, but it was before the internet really got their act together and started like reporting on stuff.
Hmm.
And so I read about Guardian of the Universe in G Fan magazine,
Hmm.
and I was very interested in it. And I had just started a new job as a courier at a company, so I was driving my car around, dropping stuff off,
Oh.
and yeah, it was what it was. But basically, the what happened was, a friend of mine at the job actually um actually had, like, his girlfriend worked at a video distribution company.
Hmm.
And so he came in one morning. He's like, "Hey man, I got a movie you should probably watch if you haven't seen it already." And he hands me the VHS tape of Gamera Guardian of the Universe from
Oh
ADV
yeah.
Films. And I was like, "Oh my god, dude, thank you so much. I've wanted to watch this. This has been on my list of things." And at that time, it was not something that I could easily access, all the kaiju movies that I didn't already own. I had basically already bought everything that I had seen at the stores, even though this was coming out. So Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, I popped that in probably like I'm sure it was like as soon as I got home from work, and I was blown away, absolutely blown away by this film because while it may not hold up as well as some of the other Heisei Gamera films, it was so well done. And it hit on the tropes of a giant monster movie the way that I liked it to be. It was like taking it serious. It was everything was so well done from there was barely any CGI in it. I mean, there was some CGI, but I mean, everything was like physical. It was so good. It was like really, I was dumbfoundedly inspired to create a website called the Shrine of Gamera.
That's
Like
right, you
a couple
did.
of years later, because I was so impressed with Gamera, Guardian of the Universe. So that's what did it. And then when I found out that there was a second movie with Legion, that was really the one that made me go, I gotta do something to profess my love of this online, because at the time there wasn't a lot of Gamera love out there.
Right.
And so it was, yeah, that movie blew me away. And I think that it did everything that I would hope a kaiju series would do to reboot something. And
Yeah.
we could talk a little bit later about other aspects of like the Heisei series versus the Showa series, etc. But
Hmm.
I mean, I think, mad props to Kazunori Ito, to the writer, to Shusuke Kaneko, the director, to Shinji Higuchi, the special effects director,
Hmm.
everybody involved with those three films, because they are the chef's kiss.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, as I'm going through these questions, ladies and gentlemen, you're more than welcome to pipe in your answers in the chat too to make it more interactive, as we always do. Um, but yeah, Gamma Guardian of the Universe is amazing. When you look at that film and you look at where Gamera was in the film prior to that, again, we just talked about it, Super Monster. It's amazing that because by the time we got to Super Monster, you can say Gamera's reputation was really on life support. And if you, I'm sure if you would have told somebody after watching that movie back in 1980 when it came out, and saw how Gamera, his swan song from the Showa series, if you'd have said, you know what, we're gonna come back, they're gonna come out with Gamera in the mid '90s, and he's gonna have films to not only rival Godzilla, but some people prefer his films over Godzilla. I would not have believed you, but it
Shout out
happened.
to Shannon here. Compound was her go-to for these obscure rentals. I did the website for Compound back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Just Be Complex turned into Compound, and they
Right.
they started doing video rentals. And yeah, she's from Portland. So
Okay. Cool.
um, Mike's
Cool.
Movie Madness was actually my end, because I didn't realize I had just moved to Oregon, and Mike's Movie Madness was not on my radar. And somebody's like, "Oh, you got to go check them out." This is a little stupid little story, but basically, I like called them up almost in my nerd voice, and I'm like, "Hey, yeah, I'm looking for like some movies. You probably don't have them, but so I'm looking for some Godzilla movies. Do you guys have like Godzilla versus Space Godzilla? Because
Mm.
this was before it was released on DVD."
Right. Right.
They
Yeah.
were like, "Yeah, we got that," and then I was like, "What?" You have What about this? And they were like, yeah, we have that. And it was like every single thing I asked about, they're like, we have it. I'm like, I'll be right there. And they like hung up the phone.
That's awesome, man.
But yeah, Mike's Movie Madness. They would rent out bootlegs basically back in the day.
Okay.
But wow, what a collection! If you've never been to Portland, or if you're going to Portland, it still exists, and it's a wonderful video rental store that's sort of been like archived by the Hollywood Theater. Anyway,
Yeah. Um,
yes.
but going to the next question, what are and you can answer this first, and I'll bring it up on the rear. What are your top three favorite Gamma designs of himself?
Oh, that's an easy one for me, because honestly, I like the 96 version.
Mm-hmm.
meaning the Legion version. Like
Hmm.
I like how they sleeked him up a little bit. And then that would be sort of like my top version. That's sort of like my default. Gamera should look this way, kind of, when he was Gamera versus Legion, or Gamera 2 Advent of Legion.
Hmm.
That's what I feel like he should have looked like. But then when Gamera 3 came out, I was like, oh yeah! It was, he looked so, it was like Gamera went from being like because he was still kind of like potentially friend to all children in Gamera 2, and like that's when all the kids kind of resurrected him.
Hmm.
And then when Gamera 3 came out, he was sick of our crap, and like he had evolved to look way more dangerous and way more
Monstrous.
badass, more yabai. And so that would be number two, even though I mean, they are like right, one and two are like sort of right there. And
Hmm.
then number three would actually be how he looks in Gamera Rebirth. I think he looks freaking awesome in Gamera
Ooh,
Rebirth. Yeah.
you're not wrong. That's awesome. Let's see. For me, I'm gonna go from my favorite to my one to three. I would go with number one would have to be Gamera 1966 from Barugan. Even though I know that's like a walking hamburger design, honestly, but I love the eyes on that one. He looks really, really menacing, and it fits his persona at the time because he's not the full-fledged good guy yet, but he's not the outright villain that he was in the prior film. He's like a tweener, you know. So I
Sure.
actually love that design, especially his face. Yeah, like he looks so menacing, especially when he's about to deploy his fire onto Baragon. It's like a little that shot in Osaka at night. He's like leaning over Baragon, and the flame starts to pop out. Then more of the flame comes out. Like I love that look. Number two, I agree with you. Gamera 1996. I love that design of Gamera. My favorite one from the Heisei series, honestly. And number three would be Gamera 1999. And I'm with you on that one. Sometimes I fluctuate. There are times where I like Gamera 3 more, then there are times I like Gamera 2 more. It just depends on what day you catch me. But today is Gamera 66, Gamera 96, and Gamera 1999. Speaking of designs, what are your top three favorite Gamera villain designs?
Ooh, okay. So number one, hands down, is Legion. I think Legion, and I don't mean just the Mother Legion or just the Soldier Legion. I think Legion as a whole, right? So because essentially Legion is not just the mother, but the the soldiers, and also in a sense the flower as well, right? Everything
Yes, all
about,
that.
I'm going to be hard pressed to not pick Gamera 2 for pretty much all of my answers here, Leslie. But basically, Gamera 2 is, if you're watching this and you don't know, I did the commentary for Gamera 2 for Arrow, and
That's right, you did.
during my research for it, it really like solidified, concreted my love for this film, because Gamera 2 is kind of what I consider to be the nearly 99.9 or Kyujuku percento perfect kaiju film.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love it. It's not what I would consider to be like the perfect Toho film, right? Like it's not a Godzilla film. It's a kaiju film, just straight up giant monster, villain monster. The stakes are high, but they're not like absolutely insanely high. They are high, but like the the end result, like, everything about it is so good. So Legion as a monster design, incredible. As a suit design, mind blowing, because you got it controlled by two people, one person sort of in the standard uh front pose, I guess you'd say, of a kaiju suit actor, and then the other person's on their back
Mm-hmm.
operating the legs,
Yeah.
both the like four back legs. It's crazy. It's so
Mm.
cool. Anyway, yeah, the Legion, I love the Soldier. I think I really, the whole, like, so that number one, and what was it, top three?
Yeah. So you got two more.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, top three are going to be Legion, and then number two would be Iris, because again, Iris is sort of just like
Oh
a
yeah.
crazy, weird monster. When I first saw it, I was like trying to wrap my head around what it was doing, and I really like the continuation of the Gauss streamline into what Iris is and how that interacted with the story of Gamera 3,
Hmm.
and weird, really weird monster, right? But sort of came into my kaiju life at a perfect time for it to sort of like really sit itself inside some of my top designs. And then I'd have to say, as goofy as it is, I absolutely adore Giron
I knew that was
from
coming.
1969.
I
Right?
knew it.
1969, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I love that monster design. The knife head aspect of it.
Literally.
I even was watching so on Thanksgiving, we don't have we don't have a lot of stuff going on Thanksgiving. So I put on Gamera versus Giron in the morning, but I put on the MS23K version,
Hmm.
which was my introduction to Gamera, and I was like, this is fun stuff when I was a kid, when I was in college, but it wasn't until Guardian of the Universe that I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think I think and there's a lot of people here. Let me just do this real quick. Giron Rebirth is incredible.
Oh
Absolutely,
yes.
yes,
Yes.
1000% agree with that. The Rebirth version of Giron actually made me sit up and go, what? When I was watching that series. So,
Me too.
also, yes, the living butter knife. Where'd that go? From Mark. Um, and then we dressed up Tiger as Giron
That's
and my
right.
ex-wife as I think Flora or Bella or whatever. And Giron is a cut above the rest, Ray D2. That's true.
Ah.
Giron is weirdly wholesome. Sure, sure. Giron looks great in play. Oh, I have not put the Gamera monsters in Gigabash yet. It sounds like I need to get my PlayStation back online and do that.
Hmm.
But Giron, aka Stabby McStabsy Face, is RT's favorite. Nice. Excellent. Excellent.
That's awesome, Frank.
Uh yeah. Man, where's the Monster Arts Rebirth Giron? Oh, you know what? Honestly, let me say something about the Rebirth series. Well, I'm sure we'll maybe touch on it a little bit later. I think the Rebirth series deserves its own like deep dive, and it deserves a lot more respect, not just from fans, even though I feel like it's fairly well respected by fans, but
Yeah.
it deserves more respect from the people making it.
Right.
And the flaws of that series, I'll just say this as quickly as I can. The flaws of that series are in the animation choices. That's my opinion. I
Hmm.
cannot stand the herky jerky style animation that they did, that looks like they're like, oh, we could do what they did in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, because that's what they did for that movie, but it really worked really well in the Spider-Verse movies.
Hmm.
Have you seen that one?
The spot? No, no, I haven't seen that one.
Oh man, super good. But when I'm watching the Gamera Rebirth series, it's so jarring at first. And the secondary issue I have with Gamera Rebirth is the style of animating the humans, where
Hmm.
it's clearly a CGI person. They're opening their mouths, and actually the insides of their mouths like creep me out. Like it's a whole uncanny valley kind of thing.
Hmm.
The third thing that I really wish that the Gamera Rebirth would get would be an actual full-fledged painted kaiju figures from Bandai, because they just did like a solid color for most of them, and like they deserve to have like an actual full painted version of themselves as opposed to just like here's a bright silver zebra, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
but yeah, all like almost all of the kaiju in Rebirth were so well done.
Hmm.
Like I just I think yeah, Chris saying that half-ass is our way. Bandai.
Bandai.
Bandai. This is honestly, it's one of the reasons I was saying like Bandai is like really being super lazy. It was not just the Gamera stuff, but like also like their redone 6-inch version of the like Kaiser Ghidra and stuff like that. Anyway,
Mm.
yeah, the like the animated Ultra series, the humans look blocky, and yeah, I totally agree. Like the way that they're done, I mean, I also didn't like that about the Godzilla anime series as well. Is like this clearly like CG models that have been, I think they call it sprite animation, but I don't quote me on that. I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
3D guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Gamma Rebirth. Let's. I'll get off the soapbox now.
Let's see. My top three favorite Gamera villain designs. Um, and that's the thing. That's what I appreciate about the Gamera franchise. And I told Kyle in our prep before we went live is that I love that these monsters that Gamera fights, they weren't really carbon copies of Godzilla, even though again, this whole franchise was inspired by Godzilla. But I'm glad they didn't do like a Rodan clone or a King Ghidorah clone or a Gigan clone. Well, they kind of did with Geron. Well, then again, Geron came before Gigan. But you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. I just love that the monsters were so eccentric and unique in both their design and their capabilities. To me, the villains really stand out the most when it comes to the Gamera series, more so than Gamera himself, in my opinion. But the three designs that are my favorite, uh, first is Showa Gauss. I mean, I like the Heisei Gauss, like it, but I love Showa Gauss. Like Showa Gauss looks so inherently evil and sadistic and bloodthirsty, which he was, and he displays that in the film. Um, I just love that design of Gauss. You know, I just love that whole design of a giant bat. Just look just so evil and just that only comes out at night to do his damage. You know. Number two, I agree with Kyle. Legion, like I love Mother Legion. That just that design. When I first watched that movie, I'm like, what is that? Like, Legion is so unique. It's kind of hard to describe what she is in one sentence, if not one word.
Hmm.
Just that whole design of just the Mother Legion. I mean, the Soldier Legions are creepy, but that Mother Legion, yeah, that one, that was a cool design. And number three, I'm gonna go with Barugon because I love that design of that monster. In a way, it's kind of basic. It's just a four-legged monster, you know, kind of like Baragon. Again, there's a difference, but I love the fact that he has those spikes on his back. He has that long tail because you know Baragon had that stubby tail. But I love that battering ram tongue he has. Like, just again, it's weird, but it's eccentric and it's unique and it makes him stand out. But that whole design of Barugon, I really love. Now, the next question.
Oh, actually, real quick on Barugon,
Go
I
for it.
what I love about Barugon is like it's a long kaiju, right? It's like walking on all fours. Also, so many times they clearly didn't want Barugon on his knees
Oh, really?
walking, like crawling around, right? If you look at him, there's a lot of times where he's like actually got his knees up off the ground on those
Yeah.
back legs, and the tail is raised like a dinosaur's tail would be.
Right.
And that to me, like he's so long overall, like such an interesting design.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Absolutely. Um,
back to you.
but this may be a little bit more complicated, but still, nonetheless, what are your top three favorite Gamera fight scenes?
Mm. Okay, so I guess I'll go in reverse, right? So actually this is gonna mimic my top three villain designs. I love the fight scene in in Gamera versus Giron. I think it's hilarious that they're on a different planet. It gives them a little bit of leeway to
Mm-hmm.
play around with the set a bit more. That is, of course, where actually that is where this gift comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Because Gamera's got the Giron stars in his arms. And the fact that Giron has these like throwing stars, it's so goofy. I know it's not serious. It's goofy as hell, but they just shoot out of his face, and like I love that, and I love that Gamera wedges his victim Giron in between like two rocks
Mm-hmm.
essentially, and flame broils him. I also love the fact that I love all the fights in that movie because you get Space Gauss and Giron attacks Space Gauss and cuts him up into
Oh my God, that was brutal. He just
you know,
jumps on the ground and slices him in midair.
and then just continue like once he's on the ground he like basically takes off his limbs and then like slices him up like ham.
Too gory for a
I
children's
just
film.
I know, right? But at the same time, it's like so, especially because of the purple blood, it's really not very like it's gruesome in a different way, but not like scary. Anyway, that would be number three.
Mm-hmm.
Number two would actually be the fight in Gamera 2, Advent of Legion, because um, mm, which fight though, right? I
I
would
was gonna say
say
which fight though.
probably the one at the airfield is probably my favorite of the fights in that film, and
Oh, okay.
it's because of the clear vision that's been given to the actors and the filmmakers here.
Mm-hmm.
Legion only appears, Mother Legion only appears because Gamera shows up to destroy the flower.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a moment when Gamera is like clearly eyeballing the flower in the distance, and Mother Legion moves in between the two of them, and it
Right.
just was this this wonderful way to show what was going on inside
Mm-hmm.
of the Mother Legion's instincts. And I just that whole thing it was also harsh, right? Gamera got like punctured by one of her legs and really almost I mean that didn't almost die, but like Legion thought it had taken Gamera down, and
Mm-hmm.
so and that given the flower pot enough time, just almost enough time. So
Mm-hmm.
everything about that I love, and I actually absolutely love the way that was shot as well. And then number one, hands down, would be Gamera 3 when they're fighting in Kyoto, and they're basically having their big battle inside of the train station,
Train
the Kyoto
station. That's right.
station,
That's right.
and the I mean everything about that battle is so freaking awesome. Even though there's a little bit of a lull where Gamera seems sort of defeated, but his get back up moment is so good, and
Yes, it is.
so just everything about it is like so freaking good. I love it so much.
Yeah.
I am absolutely like over the moon with like there's the when even when the girl's name who's I cannot believe I'm forgetting her name.
Asagi.
Ayana? No, not Asagi, the other one.
Ayana. Ayana.
Ayana. Okay, I did get it. Okay, so even when Ayana is like has been pulled into Iris, and she's having her like existential crisis moment inside
Mm-hmm.
of Iris, the the moment where Gamera's hand comes in and it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's light behind her to grab her and then pull her out.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's so
It's
good.
so freaking good. Uh And Johnny, or sorry, that's Nathaniel. Nathaniel saying he wish it didn't end in a cliffhanger. Can I just say, while I would have loved to see Gamera destroy the flock of Gauss that were coming towards it, I uh, never actually said like I wish it didn't end that way because that's an auteur's decision, you know. And I thought it was a strong and interesting decision to make, and I think it was probably one of those things that set me up for thinking like Shin Godzilla doesn't need a sequel, that kind of
Right,
thing. So
right.
anyway, those are my three. What about you, man?
And you know what's funny about that ending scene in Gamera 3? I like it too. Because again, I love that the fact is that it ends things on a cliffhanger. Ironically, Godzilla's Destroyer, the final film in his series, kind of ends on a cliffhanger. And I think it's cool. Or like The Dark Knight Rises. It's the same thing. You know, I think that sometimes it's good that you leave it up to the viewer. And everybody's not going to have the same opinion. You know, does Gamera die? Does he prevail? Does the whole world get destroyed? Like, you know, it's one of those things where it makes you think. And nobody has a wrong
Nathaniel needs
answer.
closure. I can understand that too, man. I
I
totally
understand
do.
that too. I understand that too. But then again, you make your own closure. And I think that was the
Yeah.
point of doing cliffhangers like that.
I think
Because
one of the things I love about that cliffhanger though is it's like as annoying as it is for the military to constantly be like Gamera's our friend. No, he's not our friend. We gotta fight Gamera. No, we're gonna save Gamera.
yeah,
Like this, so back and forth they have in the whole Heisei series as a continuity. Like that moment where they're like everything is like, oh, we are gonna support Gamera. Oh, Gamera is just defeated Iris. Oh, this flock of like the whole way that ends is not in a it's not an uplifting ending. It's like something is gonna something is about to go down.
mm-hmm.
How many? A lot.
Yeah,
Um, Mark also references SSS Gridman.
Gridman.
It's an anime that came out, which actually phenomenal anime. Actually, I don't watch a lot of anime, but it's Ultraman adjacent Gridman, and that anime does have a pretty great nod to the Iris
Mm-hmm.
Ayana Gamera save scene.
Yeah,
Definitely awesome.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, my top three favorite Gamera fights, not in a particular order, but I had to think about it because Gamera has had some really interesting fights, more so on the gory side. You really think about it, and when you compare them to the Godzilla Showa fights, or at least the Heisei ones, Godzilla comes across a little bit tame if you really think about it. In Gamera,
Mhm.
you got kaiju heads getting chopped off, or you get incinerated, burned alive, or at least some kaiju or get impaled in the face with objects and things of that nature. You know which one I'm talking about, or dragged into volcanoes and stuff like that. Um, but these fights are my favorite. Number one, I love the fight from Gamera versus Gauss, where they fight in Nagoya, because they had three fights in the film.
Mm.
But I think the second one is the best because you know that is really an aerial battle, and which is something that you never really seen that often, especially in the Showa period, because Godzilla at that point couldn't fly. So you got a lot of ground battles with him, but with Gamera, since he's a flying kaiju, it made sense that they would explore aerial battles. And that battle in Nagoya, and everybody's watching from the. I wish that were real because I would be right in that stadium just watching and just watch them just battle each other in the air like that. That was just an awesome fight scene. And again, I think it's the best one out of the three in the film. Number two, I'm gonna have to go with Gamera 2, Avid of Legion. But I'm gonna go with the final fight. Like that shot of when Gamera's resurrected, he is flying directly towards, making the beeline towards Legion, excuse me. And there's a shot, it's like a gliding shot where you see Gamera flying in the foreground and it comes behind the Iris, and then he gets on the ground and slides and just Uses his plasma fireball, boom, 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 boom.
Oh yeah, dude. Ah,
Yeah.
get me stoked here.
Oh yeah, I love
Pumped.
that. I love that fight scene. You know, even though it didn't take long for Legion to get the upper hand, because that's what Legion does, honestly. But yeah, that's my second favorite fight scene, at least the second of the three. And number three, I'm gonna go with Gamera 3 also. But I'm gonna go with the mini aerial fight that they had before they got to
Ooh,
Kyoto.
so
Because
good.
that fight
So
is so
good.
great. It starts off with the Japanese military in their planes trying to take down the Irish, kind of like what they did with Rodan in '56, right? Then all of a sudden they spot something on their radar and it's Gamera, and he just shows up out of nowhere. And then there's like a shot within the cockpit of one of the planes, and you see Gamera's head right next to it.
Oh man.
God, just again, they made that movie in 1999. You would think it was made like today if you go back and watch it.
I
It
love it.
is just
It's so
so
good.
good. It's so good. Again, the fight is very brief between Gamera and Iris, but it is so good. It is so good. I think it tops the
It's man,
train
it's
one.
so good. It's so good. I do absolutely love that. I absolutely love that fight. That's and plus it was sort of the first time we'd really ever seen anything done so well in the sky, right? Like
Right.
everything, it is so fast and so furious, not to borrow movie titles, but like it works on so many levels. I
Mm,
absolutely adore that fight. And like what you said, like the moment where Gamera's head comes up in between the two jets is
mm,
freaking incredible, dude.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the 1999 Gamera film. It's so good. It's like there's a reason that I gravitate towards these films, and there's a reason why it really bums me out when people are like, I love Godzilla. And we're like, oh, what'd you think of the Gamera trilogy? They'd be like, oh, Gamera, I haven't watched it, or
Yeah, yeah.
or anything else that gets said about that stuff, because really, I mean, I'd say the like I sort of shouted out the people who made the movie. One of the persons I didn't the movies, I should say, the Gamera 90s trilogy, I shouted out Kazunori Ito, the writer, director, Shusuke Kaneko, special effects director, Shinji Higuchi, but I forgot to mention Ko Otani, the composer, because the music in those three movies, and especially in Gamera 3, especially during the fight scenes, it just ramps it all up to me. So I think, yeah, I agree with Mark. Like the third movie is so good, it makes me emotional too. I don't know. I don't know if I really get as hyped for more, I mean, many more kaiju movies as I do with Gamera 3 and
Mm-hmm.
Gamera 2 and even Gamera Guardian of the Universe. Like, it's so good. It's like, yeah, Gamera is the Vin Diesel of kaiju.
He's not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, so what Chris, Kaiju Kingdom Podcast here is mentioning is that in 1999, they screened Gamera 3 at the Egyptian when G Fest was in California. It was in LA,
Mm-hmm.
and I went and saw that. Chris was there as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Robert was there as well, and it was so rad. Like that was clearly a life changing moment for me, is being able to see Gamera 3 in the theater.
That's awesome, man.
I'm actually hoping they're doing screenings next month or this month, since we're in today here in Japan. It is
December.
December.
Mm-hmm.
Also, officially been 2 years. Lady Kyle and I've lived here 2 years now. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
Congratulations.
But yes, I'm hoping to go catch Gamera 3 and some other screenings in Tokyo this month. So fingers crossed.
Good, good, good. It leads me to my next question. And you kind of like touched upon it just a little bit. But what is something that you appreciate about Gamera that a lot of fans tend to not appreciate?
Mm. Okay, so one of the things that I appreciate about Gamera is kind of something you alluded to earlier, is that while he is essentially it's a Godzilla ripoff, Gamera has been given his own lore, his own uh, origins, his own style that really separates him from a Toho Godzilla movie, right? Like forget about the Heisei series for a second, and let's just look at the Showa series as
Mm-hmm.
its own entity. You could erase the Godzilla series from history. Not that anyone watching would ever want to do that. And the Gamera series, it stands on its own very, very well, even though it's more childish and but it because of it standing on its own, it actually I think it really like embraced the fact that like they're like, hey, kids are watching this,
Mm-hmm.
we should make these for kids. Like the first film, they were like, we're making this movie on its own. The second film, Barugan, they're like very clearly we're like we've got these sort of like adult vibes for the story, which is more kind of like a heisty sort of film where there's the guys are trying to steal the opal, and there's it's more adult oriented in terms of like just being a more mature story.
Mm-hmm.
But then I feel like at that point in 66 they're like somebody must have said like, hey, look, all the adults went outside to smoke and
Yeah.
get drinks at like 5 minutes into the movie, and then we're just left with kids. So they just embraced it, and they went with these uh these stories that got more and more outlandish and more like Gauss is pretty cool, awesome. Like I'd say, it really is almost like a gradient. You've got the most adult movie is Baragon, and then Gauss gets a little more kid friendly, and then when you get to Viras, it's definitely like, well, we're doing it. Like we're in kid zone, and that's I don't think it. I don't think the movies really suffer from those, but that's what Gamera became, that friend to all children because of that and
Mm-hmm.
embraced it. I think that Gamera's embracing of who he is keeps him true to himself, whereas Godzilla can't make a decision about what he wants to be, if he's going to be a destroyer or a hero or a force of nature.
That is true.
It changes.
That's true. You're right about that.
Okay, that also might count for my unpopular opinion. I don't know.
I was about to say, like, are you answering that question now, or what are you doing?
Maybe. Okay.
But you know what? You're absolutely right about that. And I know that may be something that fans may not want to hear, but at the same time, the truth is the truth. What I appreciate about Gamera that a lot of fans tend not to appreciate, I'm gonna go back to my first film, Gamera Super Monster. And again, I'm not defending the film in no way, shape, or form. I'm not trying to say that this should be on everybody's top 10 or anything like that. But I will say that I do appreciate, particularly in that movie, they had the balls to kill him off at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Now, imagine if they did that with Godzilla. Like, he starts out as this villain, like he didn't, let's say, I mean, let's put the 54 film aside. Let's talk about from 55 to 75. And we see Godzilla evolve from a villain to an anti-hero to a father figure to a superhero and all these many things.
Mm-hmm.
Gamera kind of like did the same thing a little bit, even though his turn was a little bit more abrupt than Godzilla's really. But imagine at the end of Terra Mecha Godzilla, Godzilla dies. Like,
Mm-hmm.
imagine that. He dies defending the Earth. I think again, with all the condemning that people do with Gamera Super Monster, and they're well within their right to do that. I think it takes balls and courage to kill off the title character. Even though I know at that point, that movie was simply with just a cash grab. More likely there would be no more Gamera films after that lazy
Mm-hmm.
attempt. But I do appreciate within the confines of that story, they actually kill him off, because at the end when he goes off after he's defeated all the kaiju, he goes off to fight the spaceship. You're conditioning your mind to think, oh yeah, he's going to just destroy the spaceship and everything will be done. I was surprised when you see the people down on Earth, like the kid, and they start sobbing and weeping a little bit because Gamera dies. I'm like, nah. There's got to be a moment where he's gonna come flying from space and everything's gonna be okay. But then the credits roll, and it's like, wow, he did die. Like, so imagine if they did that for Godzilla, at the end of his run in the '70s. And again, I know a lot of people don't like Super Monster. I know I keep saying that. I feel like I'm a broken record when I say that, but it's the truth. But for me, I actually do appreciate that film and appreciate that they actually had the courage to kill him off, and he goes right off into the sunset. So that is what I most appreciate about Gamera. Not to mention the fact that, again, I love the Gamera, the foes that he fought, and again, I love they were not carbon copies of Godzilla villains. They were their own unique thing. So I appreciate them thinking outside the box with the creatures, with their designs, with their capabilities. The way Gamera takes them out, because again, he takes them out in very gory, different ways. I appreciate that. But yeah, that is what I most appreciate about Gamera that a lot of fans don't seem to appreciate. With that being said, let's go to the next one. And you kind of alluded to it earlier. You have to finish this sentence. This may be an unpopular opinion, but as it relates to Gamera, that
Gamera knows who he is. And yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that, honestly. I think honestly the point I was making before, he obviously he's a dial in the 90s, right? He goes from being a bit more of the friend to all children to being more of a danger to humans. But that is, in my opinion, in the 90s, it's less of a character shift because he still does like save that kid in 1999, but it is more about like the realization. It's less like, oh, he's the friend to all children and he's saving the children, and he's more about like protecting life and protecting the earth. And so that dial, it's a focal shift. Like it goes from this to this, and when you get to 1999, you're like, oh, right, it's life on Earth. And then and you have to admit that, especially what they say in the movie, like humans are not doing their best to protect that focal shift of life on Earth. So I think. I actually think that's kind of like a brilliant way to look at Gamera. It was a brilliant way to look at Gamera in 1999 as a not an evolution but a character arc. Like you would have a character arc in a hero's tale, essentially. So yeah, I would say that's my unpopular opinion. Like, no, I don't think anybody's gonna maybe question it or anything, but yeah, the fact that like Godzilla in the Showa era goes all over the place, even in the Heisei era, he like gets pushed into the hero zone because he's defending his turf, and then he goes all. I mean, he goes all over the place in the Heisei era. But yeah, that I. Come at me, people. I'm just kidding.
Well, they might come at me when I tell you my unpopular opinion. But then again, it's not something that I have not said before, honestly. But I have no problem saying it again here. But this may be an unpopular opinion, but as it relates to Gamera, I think his Heisei films as a whole are better than the Godzilla Heisei films as a whole. Now, before we open up that can of worms, I know people are probably going to be in the chat, ready to bite my head off. But again, this is my opinion, and again, I love Godzilla. Y'all know that I love Godzilla, but I have to call a spade a spade. But in terms of which era where the films got progressively better, the ideas got progressively better, the special effects got progressively better. Gamera checks all those boxes. Now, I know some people tend to think that just because Godzilla had more films, that equates to better quality. I do not think so, because if you look at, honestly, if you look at 84 and Biollante, and the rest of the Heisei series after that point, you can tell that 84 Biollante feels one way and the rest feels different. 84 and Biollante feel like it was grounded in the Heisei era that they wanted to start. As much as I love King Ghidorah, Destroyer, and all that good stuff, the rest of the Heisei films, especially when it comes to special effects, feels like Showa 2.0. And I'm
Mm.
not saying that as a slight, but I'm just saying that in terms of which era progressively, again, that's the key word, progressively got better, that created brand new, unique designs, all within a story arc. Now, I will agree that I think that the Gamera series saw what the Godzilla Heisei films did, because remember, the Heisei Gamera film started right after Godzilla died that same year. But I think they saw what made the Heisei Godzilla film so great, and they just took a little bit of their concepts, made it their own, but also made it better. So that's why I will always say that the Gamera Heisei films as a whole are better than the Godzilla Heisei films as a whole. To me, I think between 92 and 94, they got lazy. That's just my opinion. They got lazy. They started doing a lot of green screening. I think when they ballooned Godzilla's size, the miniatures got less impressive and less intricate. But honestly, with the Gamera films, like what Kyle said with Gamera Guardian of the Universe, like those suits look so great. It's kind of hard to think that they were suits. The miniatures were great. Then you get to Gamera 2. Mind blowing. And some will argue Gamera 3 kind of tops Gamera 2 in terms of special effects. But honestly, I can't say the same about Godzilla and Heisei series. 84 is good. Biollante is great. But as much as I love King Ghidorah, the special effects don't look as great as Biolante's. And I don't think the special effects in Mothra look as great as King Ghidorah's. They kind of got it right a little bit with Destroyer, half and half, because you know what I'm talking about. But I think as a whole, Gamera's Heisei films are better than Godzilla's. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with admitting that in public. There's nothing wrong with saying it out loud. So that's my unpopular opinion.
No,
So
I mean, I also agree with you, Leslie. I mean, I, I've said this many times. Like when the Gamera series, the '90s Gamera series came out, it was obviously in a period of time where we weren't getting Godzilla, but we were getting Mothra.
mm-hmm.
And the Mothra stuff was very, very much very focused on kids. And when the TriStars movie came out, and then we're like, oh, we're gonna get another movie from Toho. The excitement that I had was palpable. Like I was so stoked for Godzilla 2000 to be essentially let down by the storytelling, the special effects, the disjointedness of Godzilla 2000. I thought for sure that they would have said, hey, look at what Gamera 1999 was like, or even Gamera versus Legion was like in 1996. We've got to make Godzilla better than this. And
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, along with the rest of the world, I would have basically said like Godzilla is better than Gamera
Mm-hmm.
before those movies came out. And so I just to me, I think that it was a huge disappointment as a Godzilla fan, and it was a huge disappointment sort of as an overall realization that Toho had gone back to being a little bit lazy. And that said, buddy, I love the Millennium series for what it did
Mm-hmm.
in certain aspects, but they I mean, I think what we're looking at there is you're looking at what does this sort of movie company that's sort of set in their ways feel like they're going to do versus that's Toho versus the team who was putting together the Gamera series, who essentially were like happy to work overtime, happy to like they believed so much in the project that they would work their butts off to make sure that it was absolutely amazing. And like that to
Mm-hmm.
me is a huge difference between view, not viewpoints, but the two like attitudes towards it. And I'm sure that people were like super excited about the new Godzilla movie when it came out and all that. But you know, yeah, the just I think that is the most telling about the movie making for those two studios essentially.
Absolutely. Before I get to the next question, I want to talk about this for 2 seconds. I know he may be joking when he asked that because I know I made my feelings about Space Godzilla very vocal. He says, "You mean you don't think Space Godzilla wasn't a storytelling masterpiece?" And you know what's the thing? I I don't hate Space Godzilla, but that film really frustrates me because it had a unique concept. The idea of two flesh and blood Godzillas going at it,
Hmm.
and it's like that concept have always intrigued me ever since '74. And him fight Mecha Godzilla, but yet we have never seen Godzilla fight Godzilla. But that movie had that premise, and that is what they gave us. You know what?
Yeah,
And going back to Gamera, I think that again, obviously, in my opinion, the Godzilla Heisei series was a huge inspiration for the Gamera Heisei series.
of
And in
course,
my
of
opinion,
course.
Gamera 2 is what Space Godzilla should have been, in my opinion.
Okay.
What we got in Gamera 2, we should have got that in Space Godzilla. The idea of this giant
I,
monster who's a
I
facsimile
don't
of
disagree with you.
Godzilla. Yeah. Is a facsimile or a doppelganger of Godzilla wants not only to take over this world, but other worlds. Like that premise, like Gamera 2 executes that perfectly. Space Godzilla does not. And I'm sorry if that offends people, but again, I don't hate Space Godzilla, but that movie just frustrates me considering what we should have gotten. But Gamera 2 delivered.
Hmm. Hmm.
Gamera 2 delivered. Space Godzilla did not. So,
I'll
with
give
that being
that.
said, we got two more questions, and then we're going on good time here.
Hey,
Uh,
actually, before you get going, I think what I'm going to do, Leslie, is I'm
go
going to
for it.
start sharing because Leslie and I both have to bounce at a certain time. So,
Yes.
um, before he gets into his next question, what I wanted to do is say that if you aren't aware, right now there's a Gamera Expo happening in Tokyo,
Mm-hmm.
and I went and took about 200 photos of the of the expo. So I'm just going to share those while we talk, and we'll just continue to have a little discourse.
Okay. Cool.
But
Cool.
yeah, please continue with your question, sir.
Okay. Number 7. What do you want to see next from Gamora? Whereas a movie,
Hmm.
TV show, I mean, obviously we're going to get something. It's just a question of when at this point. But what do you want to see next from him?
Well, I'll be honest. I think we deserve a new movie. And I know that they had a 2015 thing that you're seeing right now,
Mm-hmm.
where they were sort of, I think, crowdfunding essentially, or they talking about a crowdfunded Gamera thing in 2015, 10 years ago. But to be perfectly honest, I think my response to that was like, that's a bad look for an established studio. Karakawa is not Dai. They are
Mm-hmm.
not in dire straits. They're a publishing company. They they should essentially be able to get the money together for a Gamera movie, and it's pretty embarrassing that they
The
were
demand is
like,
there. The demand is there.
the demand is there. I think that's actually something that people in Katakawa need to understand. The demand is there. People do want to see a new Gamera. I think that they've talked about it. There's actually chatter in the comments here too that like there should be a Godzilla versus Gamera, or let's talk about like who would win in a Godzilla versus Gamera kind of situation. But I just want to say, like, I think that it's the Katakawa just needs to focus on it and actually say, like, look, we're going to do something. I don't think it needs to be Godzilla versus Gamera.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it needs to be Shin Gamera either, because to be perfectly honest, I'm a little
kind
I'm
of
a
over that.
little over Hideaki Anno's Shin universe because all of those movies are sort of hit and miss at the same time for me. So
Right.
I would say let just Karakawa make a new movie. Don't do a like I appreciate the rebirth. I appreciate the anime series, but it's not what we want, you know. So what about you, man?
Um, I want a movie. Like again, I enjoy Gamma Rebirth, and I'm not really an anime guy, right? Like it took
Hmm.
me like at least a couple weeks to even want to watch it, even though I had
Yeah.
access to it. But when I did watch it, I was like, okay, it's really really cool. I mean, it's not something that I go back to all too often, but I want to see a movie. Like I want to see something. And again, I know the demand is there for Gamera. He may not be as well known as Godzilla, but I think there's enough of us fans that are out there that if we're vocal enough, hopefully we can inspire some change. But I just want to see a movie. I want to see something involving him, um, which kind of leads into um, that debate that I think Nathaniel Plummer talked about.
Hmm.
And we can kind of like go into that right now a little bit. And if you want to fire those pictures I sent you, we can talk about it a little bit. But honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing a Godzilla versus Gamera movie. Like, I think it's high time that they fight. And I know there's a lot of Godzilla fans out of blind loyalty of him, which is fine. But I know on paper or anything like that, like it seems like when every proposed dream scenario for Godzilla to fight this kaiju or that kaiju,
Hmm.
it's popular for people to say, well, I would like to see that fight, but we all know at the end Godzilla will win. Like that blind loyalty kind of irks me a little bit.
Hmm.
It's like you're already condemning the fight before it even begins. And let's not forget, Gamera may not be as popular as Godzilla, but in terms of capabilities, Gamera can do more. I mean, I'm just
Hmm.
saying, he can really do more than Godzilla. And when it comes to a fight, we have seen Gamera time and time again get impaled. He'll mutilate himself to win a fight. Like don't underestimate Gamera's toughness. Now we know Godzilla is tough too. We know that, but I think that it should not be a preconceived notion that Godzilla would just win. Or win in every proposed scenario. I think it would be a good fight, a great fight. And if it were to happen, even going as far as predicting a winner, I would have neither win. I think it should be like really a true draw. And
Hmm.
um oh my babies. But I think it should be a draw. And I think that would do wonders for Gamera and his reputation that he hung in there with Godzilla, but yet Godzilla still could not defeat him. Of course, Gamera couldn't defeat Godzilla, but I mean, Godzilla having a draw here doesn't hurt Godzilla. But
Hmm.
Godzilla defeating Gamera hurts Gamera more so in the long run. So that's why I would say that if they were to fight, I would have neither win. It'll be just they got the better of each other and they both go their separate ways. But seeing them both on screen, as long
Hmm.
as we get that, that's all I really care about. That's all I really care about. Um, which goes into
Okay.
basically my last question. Um, Um, as a matter of fact, you know what? Before we go to the last question, what do you think? Like, I know you say you may not want to see Godzilla fight Gamera.
Yeah.
That may not be your idea for the next movie. But if they were to do
Well,
this, how do you
you know,
feel about this?
I said the same thing about I said the same thing about the legendary Godzilla Kong when it came out. I was like, I thought it would have made more sense for them to do some battling up front and then for them to identify a new bad guy that they needed to team up to fight. And that's kind of what happened in that movie. So I guess I don't now I feel like if they did that, it would be people would think it would be a ripoff of Godzilla versus Kong for Gamera and Godzilla to do the same thing.
Yeah,
I don't feel like it's necessary. I do like the separation. Um, and I don't really think that for it's just not something I'm like, oh yeah, Godzilla versus Gamera, like let's make that happen. I think years ago, what it 30 years ago, my God, 20 years ago, I would have said yes. Now 30 years ago, I would have said yes to that. But as I get older in my fandom and my love for the genre overall, I feel like it's not it's those are crossovers that I don't feel like it need to happen necessarily. So
I
I
understand.
would definitely err on that these days to say like no, don't even worry about it. Don't That's because let's put it this way, when you're talking about stuff like Freddy versus Jason, right? These are the concept there is to get butts in seats at the theaters, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Really, that's what that is, right? And even Sadako versus Kayako, the J horror women from like the Ring and the Grudge, right?
Hmm.
Those the same kind of thing. Like that was a way for them to be like, how can we do this and get sell more seats, sell more tickets? And like, I don't want that to be the reason for a kaiju movie. I want the reason for a kaiju movie to be coming out for that. I want that reason to be, this is a great idea we have, and this is going to be a great movie we have, and that's the catalyst for creating that movie, as
Hmm.
opposed to being like, hey kids, we got these two big guys. And I know it worked for King Kong versus Godzilla and worked
Hmm.
again for Godzilla versus Kong, but to me, I just think like I would rather have uh a new Gamera movie on its own. Like Gamera's already a strong enough character. Godzilla's already a strong enough character. They There's so many things they could do with those characters. We don't need that. That's what I would say.
It's like a rock fighting a rock, basically.
Kind of, yeah, yeah.
And you know what? I understand that sentiment too. And a lot of people in the chat are probably are saying, what they have done with Godzilla and Kong, where they come together, they fight, but yet they have to come together at the end to take on a bigger threat. I kind of think like even that premise is kind of played out at this point because that's kind of like the go-to to protect two popular characters. But that's why I would say if they were to me,
Johnny.
I would have them, like I said, neither win and just.
Yeah.
I'm looking at more so on Gamera's side because I think Godzilla at this point he's already, like you said, he's already established. He's a made man, so to speak. Gamera is still kind of fledgling, even 60 years later. Like again,
Mm,
the new Gamera stuff that we get are too far in between, right? But Godzilla is coming out with something pretty much almost every week at this point. So I think again, a loss for Gamera in this scenario would do him more damage than Godzilla. But that's why again, I wouldn't have if they were to fight, I would still have them be a draw. Because like I said, I think the idea of Gamera hanging in with Godzilla, taking his best shots and still not going down would actually work better for Gamera. But again,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
maybe we'll get it. If not, at the same time, if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Which leads into the final question before we get to the collectibles, because this is collect all monsters, and we got some collectibles that we want to show before we get up out of here. In your opinion, fearless leader, what is the true legacy of Gamera looking back 60 years later?
Oh man, I mean, what is the legacy of Gamera? I think the legacy of Gamera is it, this. What is it now? It's like 12 films and an anime series, or
Yeah, 12 films.
forgive my math, but we have in terms of legacy. Like I said earlier, Gamera knows who he is. In the Showa era, he is the friend of all children, right? And they embrace that. That's Gamera's legacy from the olden days. And then in the Heisei era, his legacy is the most amazing kaiju films that have ever been made, and
Mm-hmm.
probably, I mean, I'm gonna say it's. I still haven't seen something that I feel tops those. Despite that, we're 26 years away from the 1999 film
Mm-hmm.
coming out. Like, to me, I'm still kind of waiting for somebody to create that sort of next level thing that
Mm-hmm.
is like, makes me go, oh my gosh, this tops the Heisei Gamera series. So,
Mm.
and then legacy wise, Gamera, we didn't talk about it much here because we're sort of talking about our top stuff, but like I absolutely think that Gamera the Brave has its own spot and its own legacy.
Hmm.
And Gamera Rebirth shows that there is potential for more. So I feel like the legacy is still open to add more.
Right. Okay. Um, for me, looking back 60 years later, and I was thinking about this all day before the show. And I kind of mentioned it in that post I made earlier on the group. But again, there are so many factors that could have made Gamera like a Gappa or a Yongari, um, or maybe a Gulala, even though I know he came back with the film much later. But still, the fact that Gamera was able to hang in there with this huge shadow of Godzilla hovering above him, the fact they were still churning out stories for him, and the fact that there's still a demand for him shows how amazing the character is and why he should not be overlooked as he is around this time of year when we go into Godzilla Day. I feel like Gamera Day should be almost as important as Godzilla Day. But unfortunately, a lot of fans don't really give it that much attention, at all, really. It's like a passing thing, like, oh, Gamera turned 60 or 50. Like, oh, okay, But it's not this big parade like celebration that we give for Godzilla. I know I'm guilty
Yeah.
of that too. But I think that should change because Gamera has carved his niche into not only kaiju pop culture but pop culture in general, and he should be more well known. I think a lot of people disconnect with the Showa series. It's because again, if you got access to Godzilla films, why watch the Gamera films? Because the Gamera films are basically, in a way, cheap imitations. Basically, everything that Gamera did is either a carbon copy of what Godzilla did. So I can understand why people may not want to see the Showa Gamera films, but then again, I don't understand it because there are kaiju films that are fun and wacky and things of that nature. I'm like this: if you can watch Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, there's no reason why you can't watch Gamera versus Giron. I'm just saying. Um, but again, I also think that again at the end of Super Monster, as I mentioned earlier, and Gamera's reputation was on life support. He needed that win in the Heisei series. He needed that, in my opinion. Uh, in my opinion, I don't think that if the Heisei series of Gamera doesn't happen, we're not having this conversation. But again, it just shows that all it takes is the proper execution to turn a character that was so obscure like Gamera and pull him out of obscurity and make him, to me, his legacy has started off as a knockoff, but now he is an amazing kaiju alternative. Because there are times I may not want to see a Godzilla film every time I want to see a kaiju film. That's why I'm glad that Gamera exists, and to a lesser extent, Gorgo and Yongari and Gappa. Sometimes you need to get your fix some other places than Godzilla, because sometimes even Godzilla can be stale. But that's why, again, I think it's a great thing that we have Gamera there. Again, we talked about, in not in super long form, but we talked about the highs, the lows, the rise, the fall, and the rise again of Gamera. That's his legacy. That even though he may rise, he may fall, he may rise again. The same thing can be said for Godzilla, honestly, but it's been a more of an uphill climb for Gamera, and that's why I've been more so on his side and try to infuse more people to give him a chance because he is worth it. He is definitely worth looking into. Um, but again, I know at some point we will come back on Collect All Monsters and talk about Gamera some more. Trust me, this is not the one and only show we're going to do towards Gamera. This is something to honor his celebration or his 60th anniversary. I know at some point, we're going to get the rest of the crew of Collect All Monsters and go more into depth with Gamera. This is more like a mild
If they can even talk about Gamera.
Yeah, because I know the late Showa films, it's kind of hard to get to sit through, and I know sometimes even Gamera 3 kind of gets a bad rap because that film is so overtly Japanese that even to this day, there are some things I don't really get with that film, but it's so awesome that sometimes I just don't care. It is that awesome.
I will say that living here has sort of like given me a little more of an appreciation for Gamera 3 and um, the whole mythos behind like the Ruseicho and like the shrine and
Yeah.
the like That's kind of cool. Even living here and knowing like, oh, that's from this area or they're over there in that area of Japan. Like it's freaking interesting to me. So anyway,
Yeah,
yeah, I do think Gamera deserves some more just overall. So I agree with you,
absolutely,
Leslie.
absolutely. But again, this is Collect All Monsters, so we're going to showcase a few of our collectibles, of our favorite collectibles of Gamera. You know, either of him or his foes or anything pertaining to Gamera in the movies or whatever. I'll go first. Like I said, you can just fire up that one shot. You know, Kyle, if you can. Um, this is just a little small sample of the Gamera collectibles I have in my collection. Um, it's not everything because again, my table is only but so big. But if you were to ask me what are my top three favorite Gamera collectibles, it would go in this order. Number three, it would be the Gamera Blu-ray set from Arrow. This may be another unpopular opinion. I find that set to be better than the Showa Criterion collection of Godzilla. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
but yeah, that collectible, you know, even though it's just movies, but you know, everybody loves physical media. I mean, I know we're in the streaming age now, but I'm one of these old school guys that give me my physical media, daggett. I still need that, you know, because you never know a storm may come through and knock out your Wi-Fi. Let's say you want to watch a Gamera film. That's what a disc is for. But again, just everything they pack into that set with illustrations from from awesome Matt Frank of the monster. There's a couple of comic books I believe in there. I've only had it for like maybe 3 or 4 years, and I haven't even gone through it all the way, honestly. But it is that good. Number two, it would be the X Plus 25 centimeter Legion. I think that's one of the best figures X Plus has ever done. It wasn't based off a kit. It wasn't based off a, an established prototype of a statue anywhere. That was scratch made from the fine folks at X Plus, and it's one of the best figures of all time they have ever made. It's definitely one of the most. It's one of the best 25 centimeter figures of all time. So I love that Legion. And my top favorite Gamera collectible of all time, which comes to no surprise, honestly, it's the big guy in the back. That is the Prime One vinyl statue of Gamera from Gamera 3. The only gigantic Gamera collectible of himself. I mean, I know there's some model kits, whatever, but as far as like pre-painted, fully assembled, this is the only one, if not one of the few of the only ones of the gigantic Gameras in the entire world. It came out with
That
three
one that I
versions.
had,
Oh, okay.
the
Oh, yeah,
Match
yeah.
Factory.
The
Yeah, yeah,
Match
yeah.
Factory. Yep, yep, yep. They came out with three versions. They came out with the vinyl one. They came out with a resin one that had like a burning light up plasma fist or something like that. Then it came with the fully deluxe one that came with the base, alternate heads, a couple of different appendages, whatever. Even though I got the vinyl one, that thing still felt like the resin one. But yeah, that would go down as my top favorite Gamera collectible of all time. And that's it with me.
Nice.
So what about you, Kyle? What you got?
Man, you're gonna probably be upset to hear this, but my Gamera collection is pretty weak right now. When I sold everything, and I didn't sell everything, but I sold so much stuff. Most of the things I had back in America were realistic pieces. Like, so I had like the X Plus Heisei stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I had Bandai figures, and all that stuff went away.
Okay.
So I only have like I even was searching for a travel buddy the other day when I went to the Gamera Expo. I
Mm-hmm.
thought I had a tiny little Sofubi Nito Gamera, but I could not find it. So I don't have anything to show off in terms of like, here's my ultimate collection. I also, of course, have the Arrow box set, which is phenomenal. And I'm not just saying that because I'm part of it. So what I thought I'd do instead is share my haul that I got from the Gamera Expo.
Mm-hmm.
And let's start things off with a tip of the hat. Take that off and put on my 60th anniversary Gamera hat that I bought at
I,
the
lo-
expo.
I love that logo they did for him.
Pretty fly, right? Not so
Yeah.
bad. Actually,
Yeah.
let me blow myself up here.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
so that's the first thing I'll show, even though that's not chronologically the first thing I should show.
Hmm.
if you bought an advance ticket to the expo, as weird as it is, it came with a plate. So
Awesome.
ceramic plate with the 90s Gamera and the Showa era Gamera on
Sure.
there,
Yeah, yeah.
celebrating the two main eras of Gamera.
Pretty
I
much,
am
yeah.
not generally into these because I think that acrylic stands are the the cheapest thing that people can do these days. But they had an acrylic stand with the trauma Gamera, the nightmare Gamera, and
Hmm.
I love that so much that I was like, I'll get that.
Hmm.
Actually, when I went into this thing, I was like, I don't think I'm going to buy anything at the store. $200 later, I was like,
That's how it goes. That's how it
that's how it
goes.
goes. Also, CCP has come out with a bunch of cool mid-size versions of the Gamera monsters, and so that includes Showa era monsters as well as like Heisei. And
Hmm.
so I picked up this 1999 burning version. It's very clear,
Awesome.
translucent, beautiful
Awesome.
1999 Gamera.
Hmm.
Um, he'll be coming out of his packaging soon. Oh, let's see. Getting down to the last bits here. Before I show the books, these were not things I paid for, but they're part of the haul, man.
Absolutely.
These are flyers that they had available. So, I actually we've not talked about this much, but here in Japan, they've taken the streaming aspect of things to sort of like the level you would sort of hope. Um, And so if you said, "Hey, I would like to subscribe to the Katakawa channel," you can do that on Prime Video and
Oh,
then
okay.
have access to all that stuff. Plus, the movies have been put out in 4K recently.
All of them?
So I'm pretty sure most of them at least. Okay, so just the first 3 here. So 65, 66, and 67. So Gamera, Barugon, and Gauss
Gauss.
from the
Okay.
Showa era. And then
Yeah.
of course the Heisei era has all those in 4K as well.
That's awesome.
This one is another flyer. Oh, this is actually showing off all the movies that they're going to be doing from the 5th to the 18th, I think.
You're gonna check them out, right?
Um,
At least one of them,
I'm
right?
gonna do what I can. I'm gonna be out of town. If Helmy's still watching, I'm gonna be visiting Helmy for a few days, but I'll be back on the 10th. And I'm definitely gonna go see as many Gamera films as I can in the theater. And this is
Absolutely.
the flyer for the expo itself, which I
Oh yeah,
really,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I love that. Okay, and then here's my ticket. Just kidding. So the other thing as we talked about in our books episode, is I love books and
Hmm.
I don't have any Gamera books. Gamera books that's not true. I have some Gamera books, but they're kind of old and crappy. Like the what I said in the years past about books here in Japan is they had a tendency in the 90s and the early 2000s to put out a book that had, you'd open the book and every picture was like this small, and then it also had text all over it too. So like
Right, yeah.
I used to have a scanner back in the day, and I would scan like these teeny tiny pictures, and when you blow them up, they have like this moire pattern that is a part of the printing process. So thankfully now I have a Gamera photo archive, which
That's what's
has
up.
wonderful, huge photos from the
Oh,
original series.
oh, that's
And this
awesome.
is yeah, this is really like all stuff from the Showa era. Sorry, I'm not doing a good job of showing this off, but yeah, it's there's Baragon. Let's take some guys away. Yeah, it's pretty good, and it's a pretty thick book. Not so bad. Room for more, in my opinion. They should have a Heisei version of this. I would pick that up in a heartbeat
Oh, so it just covers the
because
Showa films.
this just covers the Showa films.
Okay, okay, okay.
But talking about Super Monster, there's your ladies
Yeah.
right there.
Oh my god, that
Yeah, I
transformation
can't.
thing, that transformation that they do, it's like she does this. I love that. I love that
Amazing.
transformation.
So yeah, most of my photo references are like they're Toho because I have access to this crazy Toho library of photos, plus the tons of photo books and stuff from Toho. But I also picked up this Dai book, which features Gamera, like so he's in there,
Mm-hmm.
but it also has stuff from like Yokai Daisenso and even this, which is like the Demon of Mount Oe, and man, this Daimajin.
Cool.
Daimajin. So I haven't really had a chance to really plow through these things yet because I've been kind of busy. But
I understand.
there you go. That's my. Oh wait, one more thing.
Awesome.
One more thing. So I told you I spent like $200. The
And
Camera
it wrong with
Expo.
that. And it wrong with that.
I also bought a patch for my vest.
Oh
Wait,
yeah.
so it's got the 99 on there.
Yeah.
But because I spent $200 at the event,
What they give you?
I got these blind bag badges. And so what I think we might do is I think we might do a giveaway where we send these out, but I might send them all to like David
Mm-hmm.
and then have David send them out because
Right.
you guys don't want to pay individual shipping for for these to come straight from Japan. This tiny little guy coming straight from Japan would be a bit much. So we'll
Especially
do a
this
giveaway in
tariffs.
the future and we will not just because of the tariffs, just because of shipping overall.
Right,
Just
yeah,
shipping is
that's true.
expensive, yeah.
That's true.
So
Everything's
I'll send
expensive.
all these guys to David or one of my other co-hosts and then we'll just we'll have a giveaway and just I'll open one of them up here.
Please do.
Leslie, just fake drum roll. This one here. Let's see what it is.
Okay.
So we'll open this one up. And this one is buddy. 1967 Gauss. So that's the kind of style I think all of them are in.
Cool.
So we'll do a giveaway with those later on. I'm actually gonna put this back in the pouch.
That's awesome. Dude.
But yeah, there you go, man.
But thank you so
That's
much.
my camera thing.
But thank you so much for sharing your haul and for also participating with this discussion. Like I said, you and I are probably the biggest fans of Gamera on the show. Not trying to say that, Christine, David, and Jonathan and John are not Gamera fans. They are. But me and Kyle, we have always praised Gamera. The good films, the bad films, everything in between. So it's only fitting that we honor him on his most recent 60th anniversary. Like I said, I know at some point we will cover Gamera again. You have not seen the last of the awesome fire-breathing and fire-eating super turtle on this show. But we'll let you know when he'll come back. But I know it will be at some point, hopefully next year. So I want to thank again Kyle, our fearless leader. Thank you so much for being here. We do appreciate it, especially everybody in the chat. I was monitoring the count, the viewer count. At the most, we had like 40 people, 41. So it's been fluctuating between 35 and 40 people. And that's great for minimal promotion that we did for this show.
Right.
But it shows that, our Cam fam, our Cam army, y'all there for us. And after all these years of giving y'all content, y'all still here riding with us. And we cannot thank you enough for that. Our next episode is our next stream will be not this coming weekend, but the following weekend on December 13th, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be It's going to be the final monthly episode of 2025. Let me get that out of the way because I know when I try saying at this time of year, I tend to say it's our final episode, no more episodes. I'm not doing that. I'm not saying that. Our final monthly episode for this year, 2025. We'll have more episodes next year. But we're going to have an in-depth discussion of the final film of the Heisei Godzilla film series, the tearjerker itself, Godzilla vs. Destroyer. So we hope to see you there in the chat as we talk about the film, showcasing our favorite collectibles for the film. honestly, you can expect that show to be 3 hours. I'm just saying. I know that film is a favorite of Kyle's, and is a favorite for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. So we're not gonna give you like a short show for that, So please stay tuned for that. December 13th, same cam time, same cam channel, as we talk about the awesome Godzilla vs. Destroyer in honor of its 30th anniversary, or whatever. So, but again, Kyle, thank you so much for being here. You got anything you want to talk about or plug before we roll up out of here?
I would say, you know what? Why don't we just spread our plans for next year as well? We're going to start, I think 2026 off with a Q&A episode. So not only are we going to do a Q&A episode where we're going to get cues from you guys, the audience, but we are also going to, I swear to God, we're going to do this. We're going to do a survey. So we're going to send out a survey with a Google form where people can send in their sort of like, not reviews, but their comments and their questions and their suggestions for future episodes for 2026 and beyond. That'll happen sometime, I think, at the end of this month, and then February, I'm pretty sure, because February 8th is Wonder Festival. We're gonna be talking about Wonder Festival, which is, I believe, an Ultraman specific focus. So I'll be going to that, and I know Frank's going to be coming over for the Wonder Festival night, so we're going to go together and do that. And then lots of cool stuff. There might be a GMK discussion finally with
that's happening, like for sure.
And,
like because again, like what Kyle said with the Q&A, of course, ask questions about the show, but also if you can, since we won't really have time in between the Destroy episode and the January episode to talk about what we accumulated for ourselves in 2025. If you can, if there's a couple of y'all in there, can you just ask a couple of questions about pertaining to the things that we got, as far as figure acquisitions in 2025, or maybe our favorite figure announcements or anything like that. We really do appreciate that. Again, the Wonderfest episode will be February. It'll probably, you said February. You said Wonderfest is like the 8th. So the episode is going to be the following weekend. But on that Saturday, the 7th, that's why I normally have my African American Black History Month stream. So more likely that's what happened on that day as a proper lead in into Wonderfest, because I do the show and then Kyle will flood us with so many great announcements and articles and pictures from Wonderfest. It's kind of like our yearly thing there. And then we'll just go from there, because again, there's some great anniversaries being celebrated next year. Rodan, you know what I'm saying? We're going to do a discussion about him, the rise and fall of our favorite winged kaiju. Of course, Damagen celebrating anniversary. Ultra Q, yes. Ultraman. I know Nathaniel Plummer is in the chat. You never know. You may see us do a King Kong 76.
Whoa, what? What?
It might be a one-man show. I'm just saying. But yeah. Also, Shin Godzilla celebrates 10 years next year. So yeah. Not to mention, we may get Godzilla -0 next year. Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2 is coming out in February. As kaiju fans, we're gonna be eating good next year between everything that's coming out, as well as we got you locked here on Collect All Monsters. So again, just sit back and relax and enjoy the ride, because it's gonna be a fun one. Yes.
All right. Well, I don't have the classic outro credits here, but I will say that we could do our standard banter at the end of every episode. Banter, that's not the way to, because until next time, our plan may be doomed, our Earth devastated, the monsters are in revolt, and civilization is in chaos. But together, we must unite and collect all monsters. Thank you again for joining. You guys are awesome. Have an awesome time until we get together again next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.